Gail Hillman, my best friend in McKinney. So, how you doing?
I am awesome. How are you?
Good. So we've known each other for what is it, 9 years now?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we both. Well, you had already started your. How long had you been running your mortgage company for?
Probably about I had gotten back into the mortgage about a year earlier.
Year, and then I moved into the building that you were in, and it was 2000, in the beginning of 2010. So nothing was happening.
No,
And
no,
so we were
nothing was
both just scraping the barrel and getting things going. But it was an adventure because we've moved around with each other and we've been around. But
I have.
I want to start this podcast off with an interesting question because I'm actually interested how you would solve the problem. So there's this new TV show,
All right.
and it's a Bear Stearns guy. He's a billionaire,
Okay.
and so what they're doing with this show is they're giving him $100, a cell phone, and a car, and they're dropping him off in the middle of a city he doesn't even know and seeing if he can make $1 million business in, I think it's 90 days is the goal that he's setting for.
Wow.
So I want to ask you that
Right.
question. Okay, if they dropped Gail Hillman off in who knows where, just some place somewhere, some city, and gave you $100, a car, and a cell phone, what would you
I'd start a mortgage company.
do? Because you,
That's what I would do.
yeah, because you know it so well.
I know it so well, and there's just if there's something about the financial side of things, you can just always make money at it.
So would you just go and just like, how would you get your first deal then?
I'd probably throw a party with that $100.
Throw a party with $100. Go. You'd go all in 100%.
I'd go, yeah. I'd go all in 100. Do an event, teach them something, win the realtors over.
Because
Yeah,
you could probably take them and show them that you know so much about the industry that someone would send you a deal.
absolutely.
So let's say it
Yeah.
didn't work out. The party didn't work out. What would be the second thing that you do?
Still staying in mortgage.
Yeah, like to say, okay, you decided to go the mortgage route. So you know you're gonna do mortgage. What would be the next idea to get a deal?
Phones.
Just
Like
pick up the phone.
just phones and calling makes
so-
you the most money.
So, and that works the best
It does.
because
Yeah.
people respond to that.
Yeah, just it's actually just the more people you can talk to. Like the more people, no matter what, the more people you talk to, the more money you make, without question.
So, how many people would you say you talk to before you can start developing a relationship with somebody? Like, how many people do you call and then then you're like, okay, this person is someone that would send me business.
How many times do I talk to that person, or how many people do I have to
No.
talk to find?
How many people you have to go through?
Oh, a lot.
So,
Yeah, a lot to develop a relationship is what you're asking me.
Yeah.
A lot to a lot of people, but I'm also very picky. So
so you
yeah.
won't just work on anybody.
I won't. It's one of the I always tell people, like, with a smile on my face, it's
Yeah.
the biggest benefit of being successful is I get to pick who I work with.
Yeah, but at the
So-
beginning you didn't.
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not.
But you still did that. You still worked through the people until you got to the people you wanted to work with.
Yeah.
What really changed your business then? Like, because I remember for years and years and years, you were doing good, you're doing good, and then all of a sudden it just took off.
Yeah. Coaching.
Coaching.
Yeah, coaching, and just having a process. I'm naturally a salesman. I was born and bred that way, a salesman, but really I needed a process. And so I started doing the core coaching, and really it just gave me a process and a platform to apply everything else I did. So it changed. I always tell people it changed my life more than it changed my business, but it dramatically changed my business.
Yeah, a lot of people say that coaching. I mean, if a professional athlete needs a coach, and they are supposed to be the best at what they do, then why don't regular people need coaches too?
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. Something I always wondered. I don't know any, attorney coaches though. And I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but
Yeah, a lot of it is business process coaches. There's a lot of those out there, and I think what it does, it makes you think about things. I really think all of it is just especially we salesman type, right?
yeah,
We just keep going and going and going and going and going, and then this makes you really stop and think about things. When I teach a lot of classes, and I always try to really make that point to everyone, is I'm just trying to change one thing today. I'm trying to make you stop a moment and think through your business. Like, as mostly I'm speaking to realtors, and I just want them to think of it as a business. And that's my biggest point to them is like, think this through.
So one of my biggest fears of a coach, though, someone meddling in my life, like telling me what to do. Well, how did you get over that fear? Because you had to have that at the beginning when you were starting that, like,
So
hey, this person's going to tell me what to do. They're going to control my life.
it's just called submitting. Like,
Okay.
I mean,
Is that what they call it?
yeah, yeah. You
Submitting.
just have to submit.
And just say, this person's going to tell me what to do.
Well, okay, so first of all, you have to get a good coach.
Yeah.
Like every coach I've ever had in my group, they all make significant more money than I do.
Okay, so that's one requirement. Find someone that makes more money than you do.
Yeah, yeah. Getting a coach that doesn't do what you do or like used to do what you did, you wouldn't quit doing what I do to be a coach, right? Like you're never going to make the same money. So you've got to be really good at what you do. So in my coaching group, they can't coach me at, I'm not really sure, but it's at least 20 to 40% make more than I do.
Okay.
So and I've gotten something from every different coach. Nobody's business is the same, but once you submit to the process and just do what they tell you to do, it's shocking how well it works.
Man, we need to figure that in the law industry. I don't know of any program that's out there for lawyers that says, okay, well, here's a program, this lawyer's at this level. Because is that how Core's set up?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's guys that make tens of millions of dollars all the way down to a few hundred thousand.
A few million a year. A few million a year, probably. I'm not sure the top people probably are at 6 or 8 million.
Okay. Oh, because if you get up higher than that, really, what did you just own your own company at that point?
Yeah, probably.
That makes no sense.
People at that level are leveraging a lot of things.
Gotcha.
Like, it's not just doing mortgages at that point. When you're making that much money, I think probably if you're just doing mortgages, million two, maybe
a year.
and a half. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy money for some people to think about.
It's crazy money.
Yeah, making $1 million a year, just getting people homes.
Yep.
I mean, that's because it's just so complicated because all the paperwork that you have to do.
I mean, it's a matter of, it feels easy, right? It feels easy, but there's so many layers.
It doesn't feel easy when I buy a house.
No. Well,
like...
we try to make it. We try to make it simple, but it doesn't. There's so many layers of being told no for us. Like, there's so many different paths you can take, so many different ways to structure it. So, but most of it is just drive. Do you really want to do it? Gotcha. The nicest compliment my husband ever pays to me, people ask him, they say, why is your wife so successful? Why is she so successful? And he says, without question, he goes, she works harder than anyone I know. She walks in the door and she works hard all day until she leaves.
Yeah.
And he's like, most people just don't grasp that.
Yeah.
They just don't.
And I want to get to that point because you are incredibly successful, but you haven't always been that way, and so it's a journey that you had to go on to get to where you're at. And so I want to go a little bit back through your life and kind of tell the story as you're go through your life. And so you grew up in Lufkin, right?
I did, East Texas.
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah, I know. I do not sound like it. I got it.
Yes, it's a definite different, part of America.
Yeah. It is. It's very different. I grew up in a true East Texas home. My family came to East Texas on wagon trains. Yeah,
way back in the day.
Yeah, way
that was
back.
The 1800s.
Had to be, yeah. And the old homestead is still there.
Wow.
Very cool. It's very cool to be part of that history.
Now tell me a little bit about your father, because he was kind of an interesting character.
He was a true East Texas wheeler dealer. So my parents started the business when I was born, and
what business was that?
Well, he started off doing salvage.
Okay.
And by that, way back, if you had a dented can, then they couldn't sell it.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he would go to the railroad salvage every Tuesday, and pick up all the salvage. And so all kinds of, so as life went on, like people would call him and say, hey, a truck turned over in Marshall on the road. Can you come unload it and you can have everything that's on it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And so one day a truck turned over and it was full of carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, can you come get this off? Well, carpet's big and heavy. Yeah. And so he went and got the guy next door to weld him up a pole off the forklift. And he goes, yeah, I'll be there in a little bit. And so they gave him the whole truckload of carpet.
Wow.
And so they gave him this truckload of carpet, and that's how he became in the carpet business. So he did carpet and unfinished furniture and hardware, and I mean, he sold everything at one point in time. He sold furniture, and I had the lovely thing of growing up in this. So they had just started the store, so it was him and my mom. So literally, I didn't have friends. I had the store. Like I grew up in the store, and so.
Did you sell in the store?
Oh yeah, my earliest memories are of being very, very small and going around and helping people. And people, I remember somebody asking my dad once, does she know? And he goes, oh yeah, she'll show you.
Yeah.
She'll take care of you. So, and I grew up literally wheeling and dealing with him. I used to buy and sell carpet and just, everybody always used to say, was it nature or nurture? And everyone determined it was both. Yeah. So my father was a huge character.
Yeah. Tell a little bit about his shows he used to do.
Oh my goodness gracious. So I got my love of marketing from him. So East Texas, like small town. He was a rather small dementia. He was only like 5'8", 5'9", bright red hair, brighter blue eyes, always had a cigar in his mouth all the time. And he would do these hilarious commercials so some of the most famous are Granny Loomer. Yeah. And he dressed up in full drag and had a bonnet. And oh my gosh, they're just so funny. But Baby Loomer was probably the funniest. And he was in a diaper with a pacifier and the whole bit. Like he recently passed away, and oh my goodness, we had just the funniest stories.
Do you guys have those videos?
We can't find them.
Oh my gosh,
we're so sad. We would make I know YouTube, it would be such a hit.
You gotta go find. It's like because they have those guys. They have like there's channels that's what they are. They find these old shows. Yeah. And they put these old like commercials on that guys used to do like that.
I know. We've not been able to find them. I don't know.
You got to tell one of your boys.
And he did radio shows that were, oh my goodness, they were just, it was like the morning radio drive, and he would go in. And so when I went to A&M, my last name was Loomer, which is really not very common. Yeah. And so people would be like, Loomer? Are you wall-to-wall Loomer's daughter? And I'd be like, I always said the same thing. I'm adopted.
Yeah.
And they'd look at me. I'm like, okay, not really. I'm not adopted, but yes, it's me. And so he was well known all over East Texas. It was hilarious.
So how was it going to school growing up? Like everybody's like, I saw your dad on TV last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had been around so long that it was just kind of, that part. It wasn't until I left and went away that I think people were like, oh my gosh, he's hilarious. I think I grown up knowing everyone, and I was always a little different. I was an exchange student when I was 15.
Oh, really? Where did you do that?
To Turkey.
Turkey?
Turkey.
What was it like to live in Turkey?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. I only went for the summer.
Okay.
But yeah, I know. I was 15. I don't even know what my parents were thinking.
Yeah, they're totally irresponsible.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Totally. No, when my kids got to be 15, I was like, they were dumb.
Man, maybe we're so jaded now. Yeah. It's like, I mean, back then it was like, oh, send your kids here. No one cared.
I know. I flew all the way to Turkey
by yourself.
By myself.
15-year-old girl.
15-year-old girl.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And they had no idea what they were doing.
No, none. I think my mother was really convinced that I would have like a chaperone the whole time.
So they just let you wander wherever you wanted to go?
I mean, you had somebody kind of with you, but we landed in Istanbul, and then we took a 15-hour bus ride to a little place called Samsun, and it was me and guy that was in college and two other guys that went. And
there's a city called Samson.
Samsun, Samsun. It's on the Black Sea coast.
Oh,
so yeah,
wow, fascinating.
So
things I never knew about you.
I know.
Okay, so then you went to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And then you graduated from, or you left Texas A&M.
I didn't graduate. No.
What happened?
I quit.
I
quit my
Did Mark do that to you?
junior year. No,
Okay.
I was done.
Okay.
I was I loved school, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was doing what I didn't want to do, and so
where did you go?
I went to be a travel agent.
Okay, so you're a travel agent.
I was a travel agent, yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
I don't know, like a year.
A year?
Probably, and then I got married.
Is that where you met Mark?
No, we met at A&M.
Okay.
Yep, we met at A&M, but yeah, so I was a travel agent, and then we got married and quickly got pregnant. So,
Okay.
yep, I always say Sean picked me.
Okay.
So, Sean picked me, and I'm so happy he did.
Yeah.
But I did a 180. I said I would never, ever, ever stay home with my children because God gave me a brain, and there was no way that was happening.
Yeah.
And at 7 months, I said, so sorry, Mark. I was just kidding about that. I can't not stay home with
Mark
this baby.
freaked out.
He did not.
Oh,
to his credit, he just said, well, we'll just have to stay in the apartment, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I said, let me go find us a house. And so I found us a house up in New Hope, and a $73,000 house. So
$73,000.
I know.
That was your first
That was
one.
a long time. 28 years ago, we moved to McKinney.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And so.
I think 28. Yeah, that's right.
And then so you became a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
And how was being a stay-at-home mom?
Well, it was hard. It was hard. I was not mentally built to be a stay-at-home mom, but Sean was not meant to be with anyone. He was quite a character. He spoke full conversational English by the time he was 2.
None of my kids have done that. My kids are pretty dumb though.
They are not.
Oh, I'm just kidding. They're not, they're gonna watch us some days. Like you're smart kids. You're brilliant. You're going places.
I always said somebody would have strangled him. He was quite a kid. So then we went abroad, and Mark was working for EDS at the time, and we went abroad, and
where'd you live?
We lived in Holland and in Belgium. So we lived in Antwerp, Belgium for the longest. About 3 years we lived there. So
what was the greatest thing about living in Holland and Belgium?
Oh, you're just, it's being an expat is like the best thing in the whole world, but being an expat's wife is the absolute best thing because you can't work. I mean, so there's this group of Americans there.
Yeah.
Like you have this group of American women who all you do is hang out together and
go do stuff.
Do stuff fun. You play tennis and go on cooking lessons, and it was a great 3 years. So.
And you did that for 3 years.
I did that for 3 years.
And then you came back here.
I came back and got my kids kind of reacclimatized and stuff. And then my friend was an appraiser, and so I knew enough. I had been a realtor part-time beforehand, so I knew enough to be dangerous, and he needed help. It was time of refis, and so I did about, I don't know, 2 or 3 appraisals a week. Worst year of my life.
For a year.
I made myself stick it out for a year.
So this was kind of your theme. Do something for a year.
Do something for you.
I better put my phone down here.
I had a lot of different jobs, so like that. But so I was an appraiser for a year. It was I was horrible at it. It was a horrible job.
Yeah.
I love all appraisers. You have a really tough job, but yeah.
Yeah, that kind of seems out for a salesperson. That would be really difficult.
Well, he looks at me, and he and I are still good friends to this day. He looked at me and goes, "You should go do mortgage."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "I think you would be good at it."
Yeah.
So
that's how you got into
the mortgage industry. Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
So you end up going, and so after this year, you go to mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so was it hard at the beginning?
Well, I was really different. I had run McKinney Little League for 7 years.
Okay.
As a stay-at-home mom, I had run McKinney Little League all that time. I had run every event in the school. Literally, a group of friends and I, we all literally unboxed the furniture for Eden's elementary school. So I knew a lot of people, and I guess because I had ran Little League for so long, people trusted me. I ran it really strict. No one got to cheat. It was just,
Yeah.
and so I
So
think
people try to cheat in Little League?
oh, amazing, isn't it? Yes.
Why?
Yes.
So do you get to deal with the parents like trying to kill the referees and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah, because man,
Yeah.
I watch
Yeah.
that stuff and I'm like, I mean, I
They're
have 5
nuts.
kids, so I'm out there at the games and stuff like that, and some of those parents, they're terrifying.
The coaches were the worst. Love you again, but the coaches were absolutely
Because their
the
kid would
worst.
be on the team and they'd be like,
Yeah,
get out there.
more than once Mark would come and Mark would be like, they are gonna hit you one day, and
Yeah.
because I would run up in between them, and I'm short, so I would get up in between them, and I'd be looking up at them, and
So
yeah, it was a mess. But they didn't fight if I was there usually, like
Yeah.
because they knew that I would embarrass them,
yeah,
and I would send them to their car to sit, and like I would do like
and
horrible
you're
things
like
to
a mom
them.
to those guys.
I was mean.
Yeah.
I was like, you've embarrassed your wife. Do you see her face?
Yeah.
Like she's horrified that you acted this way now. Do you see that? Are you watching your child?
Oh gosh.
I was so mean to
But
them.
like I can understand
was
like
good.
so there I was at one of my kids' football games. He was playing flag football, and because I played football, I was watching my son just do every boneheaded thing, and like that's not how you do that. That's not how you do that. And it was so frustrating to me. I'm like, oh, I need to walk away right now. Like I had to walk away and go start like pacing him down the thing, going, he's a kid. He's playing football. And it was so weird that I could not let my emotions like they just kept getting more by like you're out of position. You need to be right here. You need to like get lower to the ground, like every little thing. And I'm like, oh, now I remember like my coach just yelling at me constantly, like do this, do that, do that. And I understand though the parents when they do get upset.
Yeah.
But you do have to know how to walk away.
You do have to walk away. Yeah. I had a guy yelling at me one time. He was like 6'4", 6'5", and he was yelling and screaming at me because I made him stop yelling at the umpire. And he comes and he's got his hands in the thing because I made him come over and talk to me. And he goes, I am vice president at Nortel and he cannot tell me what to do. And I go, I'm president of Little League and I can.
Yeah. Oh,
One of my favorite stories. He just looked at me like, oh.
But like I totally understand. Like I like to bag on those people, but like if you don't control yourself, you can get really frustrated. And a lot of kids that live in that, or a lot of parents who were so good at little league and high school sports, but never could translate that on.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know any professional athletes, but I've never really seen videos of professional athletes screaming at their kids.
No, I never had any. We had quite a few that played whose parents were professional athletes, and they would always sit quietly. I never had any issues at all.
It must be some kind of issue that you have when like you never reached your full potential and you're trying to reach it through your child or something like that.
Probably.
So you're okay. You do the Little League, and now you start in mortgage, and you're starting off. But because you know a ton of people, you're kind of.
It was easy. I for a long time did not understand like why people couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't. But I think they trusted me. I mean, I had been Little League president a long time. I stayed at home with my kids for almost 14 years.
Okay, so it is 14 years down the road. So you started doing this, and. But you got out of mortgage.
I got out of mortgage for 3 years during the collapse, and we had a family entertainment center.
Yeah. So tell me, because this is a crazy transitional part of your life.
It is. My husband had gotten laid off in the .com industry, and I was doing mortgages, and at that point, and making a good living off of it, and so we just said, hey, why don't we open your own business? And so we opened a $4 million family entertainment center. It was insane.
What year though?
That would have been 06.
06. So we all, hindsight, know what's going to happen.
Hindsight, we do. Yeah. So we were going great, gangbusters. Everything was going well. And then come November of 08, it literally died. It literally we were doing great, And I remember that they had one night the debates were on, and
Yeah.
there was not a single person in the building.
Wow.
And that was, and revenues dropped 40 to 50% in 1 month. It was
Wow.
crazy. Everyone was so scared, and the last thing you're going to do is do birthday parties or something with your kids. Your kids would rather have a sleepover anyway, but
Isn't it crazy how much
yeah,
everything is run just upon people's feelings?
It was absolutely insane.
Like if people would have just gone, we'll get through this, and just kept going, the economy would just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But everybody was so scared. I remember that. I remember sitting. I worked for a financial advisor in law school during the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember him staring at the screen every day because he had a TV in his thing, watching the news come in, and he goes, either it's going to rebound, or it's all gone. And he would just sit there, and his phone would just ring, and he just wouldn't answer it because he was so overwhelmed. Like he couldn't stop the phone calls.
Yeah.
And it was just like, but it was like just to watch the panic on this guy's face.
Yeah.
Like like I was in school, so I didn't get the full brunt experience of it because I was poor, and then it was like, all right,
poor.
Now everybody else is poor in America.
Yeah, really. Now they're all like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was crazy.
So you came through that, and then you went, okay, well, I guess.
We basically started over from scratch, and I said, you know what? I always loved doing mortgages. It's a great way to make a living. I'm good at it, and I went back in it, and I went back in.
But it still was slow at the beginning.
I was super fortunate. So when I got back in, I still think I made pretty close to six figures that year.
Okay,
so I know I should stay in it. I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So
you made it through that year, and then everything after a few years down the road started really taking off for you.
Yeah, it did. I really got, I always tell a funny story that I do not like speaking. Like, I don't like conferences. They make me sit somewhere.
Or video podcasts, maybe.
No, I don't like that. No. But I just don't like sitting somewhere long periods of time. And so a bunch of my people from my company that I was with came in for a core event. And so I went down just to see them at the happy hour. I wasn't like, I just went down to go to happy hour. Hadn't seen him in a while, go down there, and my boss at the time, who I adored, said, hey, this is going on tomorrow, and you need to go. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I would move around the table. And then he'd come follow me and be like, no, really, you need to go. It's $700. I'm like, are you kidding me? $700 and you want me to sit somewhere 12 hours? Are you kidding me? Have you lost your mind? Like, no. And so I would move around the table. Like, literally this went on for like 3 hours. Yeah. And finally at the end of the night, he said, I'm going to pay for half and you're going to go tomorrow. Yeah. And I was like, oh, fine, I'll go. And so I go and I tell my husband, I'll be home in time for dinner. Yeah. I'm not sitting there 12 hours. That's absurd.
I know, that is crazy. It was
from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so I went, and by 1 o'clock, I literally texted my husband, I found my people. Like, I really, we call it drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah. And I really drank the Kool-Aid. So, and you have to, if you're going to do what I do, as far as coaching and everything else.
So tell people what you have to do in this program, like how much actual focus and effort you have to put into your business.
Well, we have a thing called a greatness tracker, and so every week you're supposed to see 15 people face to face. Okay. You're supposed to eat lunch, dinner, breakfast, drink something with 5. Okay. You're supposed to call 60, and I moved that up to 100 because calling 60 that's pretty doable. Okay. Like after a while, it's pretty doable. I'm supposed to have 2 events a week, 10 thank you cards a week. I have to track every single lead and every single deal I do. Wow. So I have probably every 2 weeks somewhere between 2 and 5 hours of homework. So it's somewhere every week. It makes you completely accountable. You have to track every number that you've ever done. I can probably tell you every realtor I've ever worked with, well, since I started, every realtor I've worked with, every deal they've sent me, every lead they've sent me, I keep track of every number. And I just created a business. Like that's what I did. But it was just a matter of kind of getting out of my own way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, for people out there like in sales, like at first I was like, you want me to call 40 realtors every Monday? I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna say?
What are you going to say to these people?
What am I gonna say to these people? But then you kind of realize like it's kind of arrogant of you
Yeah.
to say, well, you send me business and I'm never gonna call on you
Yeah.
or do anything for you, but you just send me business.
So, do you call the same people every week?
Uh, I call people. I call this one group of people almost every Monday. I have missed.
Yeah.
I have missed, but yeah, I called one group and then I switch it up to different people. But I have my core group of people that I love on and I do anything for, that I call every week, and they know I'm calling. And if I don't call, they'll call me. Why didn't I get a call today? What's the matter?
So what do you talk about? Like when you first start making those phone calls, like what do you say? It was like, hey, I called you last week and you didn't send me a deal, so I'm here calling you again.
Well, you have to, it's a plan, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing that you really figure out in the core is it's a plan. You've got to figure out, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to talk about is your events. You've got to plan your events. You've got to do, because that's a lot of what I talk about. And, sometimes I just ask them, like I say, sometimes I've been in contests. Hey, I'm trying to get the most leads and of my group. And so could you help me? I need I need to hit, one time I was needing to hit 100 leads.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to hit 100 leads and I'm 23 short. So anybody you got would be helpful.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have the most amazing people I work with ever, and I hit 100 that time.
Yeah, they say that if you that people will love to help people. So if you say, "Can you help me?" people will do it.
I did it last week. I had a new lunch and learn with somebody that I had never done one before, and I just called all my favorite people and said, "Can you come? Like it's a new one. You've never heard this. You've never been here. Will you come?" And you know what? We ended up with 18 people there.
Wow.
So that just showed up. Most of them showed up because I asked nicely. I just asked nicely. So those are great people that I get the honor and joy of working with. It really is. It's a big deal that they do it for me.
So if you now going forward, what is the goal? What's your vision of your future?
The goal is to help people now. I've met, the hard part about a goal, and you've said them too, right? Is when you hit them, what do you do?
Yes.
Right?
Well, yeah, they say that the best thing in your life isn't goals, it's systems.
Yes.
Have the system, do the things that you love to do, and do it every day, and enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And this might be something helpful for someone that's young to understand that you love what you do.
I love what I do.
So think about what you call sales calls 100 a week.
Yeah.
And you're telling people, I love what I do.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference in the mindset between that kid that's sitting there I have to call 100 people a week? That sounds miserable. I don't ever want to do that. What is it that makes it wonderful for you?
It's mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's all mindset. It's first of all, these people are my friends.
Okay.
They
became your friends.
They became my friends.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I care about
Ruth,
them.
I tapped on the table. I'm sorry.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
They're my friends. I care about them. They care about me.
You developed really deep relationships with people.
Yeah, and I think you have to develop, especially in sales. If you don't develop deep relationships with people, wow, that's a beating.
Yes.
If I'm a commodity, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And they trust me, right? So they trust me with their commission.
Yeah.
They give me their people. This is their money they're giving me when they do it. And I think a lot of it is just determining that it's okay, right? I make it a game. For a long time, I didn't fill up my greatness tracker, and I would always tell everybody Monday's my favorite day of the week because I got to start over and try again.
Yeah.
So there's a huge competitive side of me too that I've never turned down a challenge. So
that sheet and everything that's like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to be hitting. I have to accomplish this goal.
I have to accomplish this goal.
Yeah.
Because why am I paying a ridiculous amount for coaching, and for then I have to get on this call with these people. There's 3 people on the call and then a coach. So, you get on the call and you're like, did you do what you were supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, I wish I could say I always am, but sometimes I don't.
Of course not. There's no
So,
that does.
but you got to have a plan, and you gotta just find something that you love. So I always tell my kids are always laugh with me that, like, Mom, it's not about the money. You make enough money, and I always say that money is just the way you keep, like, it's just kind of scorekeeping.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about the money. It's not about making more money. I make plenty of money,
Yeah.
but it's just. It's a way to challenge yourself, is what it is.
Yeah, if you can get past the money and get to the point where it's like, I genuinely love what I'm doing, the money comes.
So now I want to grow branches. I want to help other people do what I've done. That's like the thing. I want to. I really want to change people's lives.
Are you coaching anybody right now?
Not right now, but I'm looking for. I would look for loan officers, whether male, female, or whatever they are. But I would love to help, like, young females.
Yeah.
I would. There's in the mortgage industry, there's a lot less women than men.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I would love.
Which
to
is
bring
weird because there's so many female real estate agents, and so you would think that they would like to work with female mortgage loan officers.
I think a lot of them do.
Yeah.
But there's just not. I think it's like one of those things that so many women are like, oh, it's. I talk to people that I'm like, you'd be great at what I do, and they're like, oh, it's numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's not. It is numbers. I mean, it is true, but I don't know. It's not hard numbers.
No.
We're not doing linear algebra here.
Yeah, it's like, okay. It's like,
we're doing addition, subtraction.
I
think we're good.
How much do you make? Can you afford that house?
Yeah,
Yes
maybe a
or
few
no?
percentages thrown in. I really feel like the math is pretty simple, but
All right, so the last thing I want to kind of go over with you, I think you can help people with buying houses. So you see a lot of people buy homes that are way above them sometimes.
I do.
And
It's starting again. It stopped in 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. People were buying within their means because they were scared.
Yeah.
Everything had just happened, and we stopped that probably maybe 2 years ago.
And you're seeing it more and more now.
I am seeing a lot of it.
People are just going crazy with, like, and you gotta, like, here in Texas, the issue that we have is people don't understand you have property taxes so high. So you can go, well, I live in a $600,000 home here in Texas. That's nothing in California, but California doesn't tax the way we do on property tax.
Yeah.
So it's a lot less every month. But buying a $600,000 home here is a big deal.
It is.
And so what ratio? So if I'm going to go buy a house and I'm a young person, I'm starting out, and I make, let's say I make $8,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. So
what is my price range then?
So technically, if you make $8,000 a month, you can technically get a loan up to your debts can be $4,000 a month.
$4,000 a month.
I can get you a loan if your debt. So that's cars, student loans, credit cards, house, things that would appear in your credit report.
Okay.
Can be up to that. That's crazy.
That is crazy. So what would you recommend though?
I like people to stay about 35% debt to income, and if you make me do that math in my head, you're probably about $3,000 a month, somewhere around there. $2,800 somewhere around there a month in debt to income. Like it's where I would want my children to be.
Okay.
How's that?
So you'd say that.
That's where I always.
And that's not including the taxes on the house, right?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, that is including the taxes.
That is including the taxes. That is including everything. But I don't want people to be house poor.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, sometimes it's just what people want, and you do what people want.
Yeah.
So I would love to talk about refinances real quick.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit.
One of my biggest things, I turn down way more people for refinances than I actually do refinances for. And before you get, like, most of the time, refinances are not good for people. So
why?
Well, because people always I've had people call me and so and so is trying to get me to lower it. It's half a point.
Okay.
Well, you're not saving enough because no matter what, no matter if you don't bring any money to closing,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. There's still money being paid out for this refinance.
Gotcha.
It's being added to your loan, and I've seen people being charged $12,000-$14,000 to get out $25,000.
Yeah.
So you just have to really, you know,
Pay attention.
you really have to pay attention. Like, it's
So-
important.
Most people flip their houses pretty quick because they move a lot. If someone comes in and goes, oh, I see that we're going to be able to save like 0.5%, and then you know they're going to move 3 years from now.
Never.
Never.
Like, you would never. I think it needs to be closer to at least minimum point.
Okay.
Minimum point, and you tell me you're not going to move.
Yeah.
Because even if you tell me you're not going to move, you're going to move.
Yes.
And so that gives you at least 5 or 6 years.
Gotcha.
So, but minimum a point. Now, does that mean, like, if somebody, I mean, I've had a lot of people, like elderly people, like if people are listening and they have elderly parents, I've had a lot of elderly parents who I don't care if I refinance them and save them $100 a month because, you know, they're on a fixed income. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we've restructured things, and a lot of people don't know, for elderly people, you can, in the state of Texas, you can, you don't have to pay your property taxes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you would say. You defer them
Defer
would be the
them,
word.
yes.
You can defer your property taxes. So we'll do all kinds of things like that to help people. But in a normal situation for you to come to refinance,
Yeah.
I would be like, no, you're restarting your amortization table. I'm costing you a lot of money. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, no, I agree 100%. So, anything else that you can think in this environment? Be careful. Don't buy too big of a house. And make sure that you can afford it. And don't just go out and refinance to put a pool in the back of your house every single
don't
time.
waste your equity.
Yeah. And I try to tell people that your home is your best asset.
It is.
And if you're constantly going and refinancing and take your money out, then you're not going to build the equity to protect it.
No, not at all.
You know, it's amazing what you can do once you pay off your house, what you can do.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
So,
saving $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's awesome.
All right, Gail, it's great. I mean, the one thing, in my opinion, that makes you incredibly good at what you do is you're very good at sales. That is 100% true. But you're incredibly competent.
Oh, thank you.
That is the biggest thing, because I send somebody over to you, you know how to actually help them. That's the key. It's like, you can be the best salesperson in the world, but at the end of the day, the reason why real estate agents continue to use you is because you can get things done.
Yeah.
And you can think outside the box, which a lot of people can't do. And I've seen you do some crazy stuff to get things done.
All legal.
It was
Just
every
crazy.
single time it's legal.
It's always
But-
legal.
but you can
It
know how
is
to
creative.
yes you can get creative and be okay, this is what we can do and everything,
Yeah.
and that is very important, because sometimes people need creativity to get the next step of their life.
They do.
So anybody need help? Gail Hillman, if you're going to buy a house, you can give her a call. She can help you, and we'll put everything in the description below.
All right. Thanks, Taylor.